Thanks, Joe, for the recording. I'm going to share my screen to start the presentation. So hopefully that's going to work. Go. Okay. So, yeah, as Rosanna said, welcome to our deep dive training on how to stop EACOP, the East Africa crude oil pipeline. And to start with, we're going to explain a little bit what is EACOP. And some of you may already know a little bit about it, but on this map you can see the length of the pipeline in black, and it's starting at the Lake Albert in Uganda. This is in the top left corner of the map, where it will connect two oil fields in Uganda, oil fields that are called Tilanga and Kingfisher. And the aim of the pipeline is to transport the oil extracted in that region through Uganda, Tanzania, and to the right bottom of the slide to the port of Tanga in Tanzania. Most of the oil will be for exportation, and that's why the pipeline is absolutely crucial. It will also open up other potential oil exploration, for example, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but at this stage, we are focusing about what the plans are for the moment. The pipeline would transport oil for 400 drilling wells of these two oil fields. And it will be more than 1,400 kilometers long, which is the equivalent of the distance between London and Rome. So a gigantic pipeline. One really important aspect of this pipeline is that it will run alongside, you can see it on the map, Lake Victoria, which is Africa's largest freshwater reserves. And the pipeline will also aim to heat the oil permanently at 50 degrees C to keep it fluid and to keep it going. So who is behind this pipeline? If I can go to the next slide. Yes. Who is behind EACOP? The project is led by a French company called Total Energies. They are the main shareholder. They own 62% of the project. They have got the support of two national oil companies of the Ugandan and Tanzanian governments. So that's Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, and Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation, TPDC. Each of them own 15% of the projects as well. The last shareholder is the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, CNOOC, that owns the remaining 8%. So why are we opposing this pipeline? It is, one of the obvious reasons is that the effect on the climate and the emission that this pipeline will allow to release in the atmosphere. We're talking about 34 million tons of carbon of emission each year. And that will actually double the current emission of Uganda and Tanzania. So an absolute climate bomb. But this is not the only effect that the pipeline will have. It will have effect on nature and biodiversity. The oil fields by Lake Albert are within one of the largest national parks in Uganda. And it's a very diverse, ecologically diverse, wildlife-rich region of the world. It will run through numerous nature reserves, actually. This is not just where they're drilling, but the pipeline itself runs through lots of different national parks, reserves that have got some of the largest population of elephants, giraffes, lions, hippos, and leopards in the world. And even more importantly, the effect on people. We're already seeing the repression that activists in Uganda and Tanzania are facing, especially in Uganda, where there have been, regular arrests. People have been threatened if they speak out, harassed and intimidated. But as well as those threats to civil rights, the fact that the pipeline runs through Lake Victoria or just next to the lake, this is a massive threat to people access to water, but also food production. There is like large fisheries on the lake. The water is also used for land irrigation. More than 40 million people depend on Lake Victoria for their survival. So massive threat to people via the pollution or the potential of pollution in Lake Victoria. And obviously the companies and the government claim that the pipeline is very secure and oil leaks are not a regular occurrence. But in fact, this is totally untrue, because we see that across the world where there are pipelines, especially pipelines that are not buried under the ground, which would be the case for this pipeline, leaks are happening on a regular basis. And it's not if it happened, it's when it happened. In addition, the pipeline crosses more than 200 rivers and runs through thousands of farms. So again, the potential for water poisoning, land pollution, and the effect on food that people eat are massive. The last massive impact is about people's displacements. It's estimated the project would displace 100,000 people. Despite the fact that the pipeline itself hasn't started to be built, people have already been displaced, either in the Albert area where the oil drilling has started, or on the path of the pipeline where they are clearing villages and families. There is no adequate compensation that is taking place, because sometimes people may be convinced to move in exchange of compensations, but what we're seeing on the ground in Tanzania and Uganda is that the compensation provided or the alternative housing provided are not adequate at all. They are often based on valuation of land that is as old as 7 or 8 years, where the land value has increased. People are displaced in areas where their children cannot access schools anymore, so they are not going to schools. And alternative housing where it has been proposed has not been provided, meaning people have had to go and live with family members, etc. So the impact on people in the region is already massive and is only going to get worse. One of the biggest arguments around promoting the pipeline, we all aware of what we call greenwashing, where polluters and governments are pretending that projects are positive for the economy, and this is the main argument to sell the pipeline. It's about saying it will benefit the economies of Uganda and Tanzania. There will be tax revenues by the sale of the oil, because they can't argue that people will benefit from the oil for energy in their own country, because most of it is going to be exported. So it's about tax revenue and it's about jobs creation. Job creation is a classic seller for projects that we've seen in the UK, like new oil fields in the North Sea, or a new coal mine in West Cumbria. Every time we are being given overestimated claims of number of jobs. And here we've had all sorts of figures. Up to 80,000 jobs could be created, we are told. We are also told that the majority of the jobs, the direct jobs created, would be for Ugandan people. So in construction, engineering, transport, security, leisure, and hospitality. But actually, we can question those claims, because a lot of those jobs, may be related to skills that do not exist in particular regions. So it'll be likely that a number of those jobs will actually go to people outside of East Africa. And in fact, when we delve into the details, even Total, in some of their official reports, estimate that only 4,000 direct jobs will be created. And when we differentiate direct jobs, which are about the construction, about the operation of the field and the pipeline. Then there is always additional jobs that would be created around it in, transporting the workers, hosting the workers, providing food, etc. They will spend in local shops. But in terms of direct jobs, we only talk about 4,000 jobs, not 80,000. And this will only exist during the construction phase of the pipeline, which will last between 2 and 4 years. In fact, once the pipeline is operational, we're looking at 200, 300 permanent jobs. So the sort of jobs argument really doesn't stand scrutiny. So it is important that as we campaign against ECOP, to stop ECOP, we also think about alternatives and debunking the myth of economic prosperity and jobs that it will could bring. And some groups have been working on looking at, alternative, sustainable sectors such as renewable energy, public transport, education, agriculture, fisheries, and the electrification of Uganda and Tanzania, where still, I think it's more than 50% of people still haven't got access to electricity. It's a project that's been very much delayed. You can see the original timeline that was planned by Total. And there's like 2 dates to look at here. They were hoping to have what we call the final investment decision at the end of 2017. The final investment decision means that they've identified the actors that can fund the project, because without banks and loans and investors, the project cannot go ahead, but also to insure the project. Such a large-scale project with the high risk we've discussed needs a lot of insurance. This final investment decision still hasn't been finalized, actually. They have found most of the funding for the project, apparently, but at the moment, they still haven't got an insurer. Some local insurance in East Africa have said they would back up the project, but they need, sort of global insurers to come in. And therefore, they are nowhere near starting the first oil, which was planned for 2020. And because of the campaigning, we are now in, early 2024. And again, this is not a date that is going to be respected. The campaign was started by people and activists on the ground in Uganda and Tanzania. And it has been supplemented in the past few years by solidarity activism in the global north, with an increasing number of people taking action, in particular against those financial institutions. So before I pass on to Rosanna, we are going to show you a short film, which is about this fossil finances campaigning tactics, why we're using those, and why we will talk in a bit about the week of actions that's taking place at the end of February, which is targeting insurances. And hopefully this film will give you a bit of a, understanding about why these tactics are very effective and very important for us to pursue. So I am going to attempt to put the film on, and I can't see anybody, so hopefully it's working. If no, let me know and shout, but I will press.
Our survival is at
Apologies.
Our survival is at risk because of the prospects of oil production in Uganda.
Beneath the scenic shorelines of Lake Albert, under the water and the lagoons, there are riches. Enough oil to dramatically change the fortune of Uganda. In full production, around 150,000 barrels of oil a day will be pumped out of this area.
It's all about money. They are putting the profits over people.
the longest and biggest pipeline in the world, and this pipeline is running through my country, Uganda, running in my country, Tanzania, and so many households are going to lose, so many people are going to lose their livelihood. This is a danger. This is a danger to us.
They are the ones injecting money into fossil fuels, and they are the ones funding our destruction.
We shall either displace ourselves or shall be displaced by those people.
We're already experiencing oil spills, and fishes are dying, devastating floods that are destroying people's crops, destroying people's livelihoods. We cannot eat profits. Yeah, Total is doing it because they only care about themselves.
We ask Total to stop funding these fossil fuel projects. They can't fund geothermal, they can't fund solar power if they really care about the future of our people.
Our survival.
Okay. Here I am. Okay. So I am going to pass on to Rosanna, who's going to take us through, the next steps about the campaigns and who are the actors in the UK, because we saw some of the Americans investors there.
Thank you so much for that, Clara. Yeah, so basically I'll talk a bit more about what can we do in the UK to campaign to stop this pipeline. So yeah, as you saw in the video, that was mostly talking about like North American investors and banks. And so in the UK, if we were to target the fossil finance that is involved in ECOP, we can see with banks, we have been doing a lot of campaigning on this, and most have actually already ruled out ECOP. So there was HSBC, there was Barclays, but I'm just going to post in the chat. Can I do it to everyone? Yeah. These are the banks that have ruled out ECOP, and some of them who haven't. We also did like a lot of successful campaigning with so Standard Bank was Standard Chartered, or there's two. Wait, let me make sure I'm saying the right one. Yeah, Standard Chartered was meant to be financing ECOP, but that's not what happened. But we like stopped them. Sorry, do you want? Yeah. And then so at the moment, what we are trying to target is insurance companies. So we've got Lloyd's of London, which is the insurance syndicate, and that's based in the centre of London. And also we have individual insurers such as Chaucer, Chubb, Tokyo Marine, who have not yet ruled out ECOP. So here in the UK, we've been doing a lot of campaigning against these insurance companies, and without insurance, the pipeline can't go ahead. Also, there's an insurance broker that is Marsh, and that also has like a big office in London, and we have been targeting them because they are meant to be the broker for ECOP. So some of the UK actors some of the actors that aren't actually from the UK but have big bases here, like AIG, they are other people that we are targeting. Next slide, please. So I've said that we have been successful in a lot of ways already. So and as you see, the project has been delayed a lot. So only 10% of the finance has been secured, and there has been no insurance confirmed yet. And yeah, we've had more than 23 insurance companies that have outright said they're not going to insure it. But we are still having to pressure the other ones to make sure that they say that they're not going to do it too. And we've also proved that ECOP does not comply with IFC environmental and social standards. And also, yeah, with the finance and the banks, as I said before, yeah, a lot of the targeted banks have refused, and the project cost has just increased from 3.5 billion to 5 billion, which, yeah, so it's harder for them to get finances. Also, we have had a lot of media attention. There is like a growing public outrage to stop ECOP. And more people are hearing about it, and it's great to have you on this call so you can like hear about it further. Next slide, please. So yeah, what have we been doing in the UK already? We basically launched a campaign in the summer of 2022, and there has been in-person actions in front of insurance companies and banks. This has happened in London and in Manchester and other cities too. You might have seen pictures of us. We normally wear these like red suits. And yeah, that came from campaigning against Total in France. So yeah, they were wearing these red suits, and so we were wearing them here too. We've also been doing phone campaigns. So this is calling employees of these insurance companies, and yeah, this is often a very successful tactic. We get to talk to employees, and a lot of times yeah, they'll be quite receptive to hearing what we have to say. We'll also just go outside the insurance companies and hand out leaflets and just talk to the insurers going in and out. We have also like gone and escalated our actions. We've occupied the offices of insurance companies as well. We had a visit from a Ugandan activist, Patience, who came at the end of last year, and she got involved in the actions that we did in October. We've also been doing trade union briefings and motions and getting trade unionists to support the Stop ECOP campaign. And we have this digital campaign on Chile Club, which is an app that you can get on iPhones. And yeah, if you download this app, then you will be able to take actions like nearly every day. And it's a really quick way to support the Stop ECOP campaign. And yeah, and get involved. So you can also follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. You can see the Let's Stop ECOP UK there, and yeah, get involved in the actions that we're doing. And yeah, I'll talk a bit more about that later. We also have Amina here on this call, who is part of this campaign, and she can talk about that in the breakout rooms. So yeah, next slide, please. So here are just some pictures of actions happening all over the world. Yeah, the Stop ECOP campaign is definitely a global campaign. There are the frontline groups in Uganda and Tanzania who have been going on the streets despite repression from their government, and yeah, standing up against ECOP. We have the groups in France and in Japan, and you can see in the US as well. We have Fridays for Future and like XR, who have all been involved in the Stop ECOP campaign, and yeah, taking part in loads of different kinds of creative actions as well. Next slide, please. So yeah, I just want to talk about this Ensure Our Future Global Week of Action, which is happening at the end of February. This will be targeting the insurance industry. And yeah, as I was talking about a lot before, it is the insurance industry that we mostly need to target around Stop ECOP. Yeah, Joe's just put in the chat, if you want to sign up for the Global Week of Action, you can click on that link. Yeah, we think that it's just an amazing way to yeah, get involved in the UK. So because it's so important to target these insurance companies that are not used to being targeted. Often, yeah, I think like banks are a bit more used to being targeted, investors, and obviously the fossil fuel companies are used to being targeted when we're saying stop fossil fuel projects, but insurance are not used to it, and they are more subject to public pressure. So yeah, without insurance, the new fossil fuel projects cannot go ahead. So we say that the insurance is the Achilles heel of the fossil fuel industry, and yeah, it's going to be a great week. We've got like actions being planned in London and in Manchester, and we're hoping to see many more across the UK. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So what are the demands of this week of action? Number one is to get the insurance industry to stop enabling fossil fuels. We want them to immediately cease insuring new and expanded coal, oil, and gas projects. Number two, we want the insurance companies to respect human rights, to make sure that the insurance companies immediately adopt a robust and due diligent verification mechanisms to make sure that the companies respect human rights. Number three, we want the insurance companies to support a just transition. They really can play an active role in the just transition by increasing support to renewable projects and ensuring those instead of fossil fuel projects. And yeah, we also want them to play an active role in making sure that the communities most impacted by climate change are able to access renewable energies. Next slide, please. So yeah, how can you get involved? There's also an action pack as well, where you can find out how your group can get involved in this week of action. Also, if you as an individual want to join in with other with actions that are happening across the UK, we also have a map that we can we will also send you all this info in an email as well. And yeah, there's so many different ways of taking action. As I said before, there's like emails and calling. You can do tweets, you can do a physical action at any of the offices. There are insurance companies offices all around the UK in lots of different cities. We've also done things like Google reviews, doing things like on the media, on social media. So yeah, anything like that is very, very important. Next slide, please. And yeah, we recognize that a lot of people might not know about ECOP yet and about the Stop ECOP campaign. And a really great way to get your community, your action group or people in your city to know what exactly is ECOP and the campaign against it. There's this really great film, I think it's about 45 minutes, and it's on YouTube. I think you can also go on that link there and see it there, and you can host the screening. And yeah, it's a documentary on what is going on in the front lines, and then at the end it also says how we can campaign to stop this pipeline. So yeah, that's what we've been doing to build up these groups in London and Manchester. We have been showing these films, and yeah, we would love to see more action groups all over the UK. So this is a really, really great way to start doing that. Next slide, please. So what is happening on the week of action so far, because we are hoping that there will be more events popping up. But yeah, so we have just before the week of action in Manchester on Thursday 22nd, there will be an event that we'll see. I think it's a journalist that went to East Africa and collected a lot of stories, and he's got a lot of photos. So there will be this event in Manchester displaying that and talking about the campaign there and how the pipeline is affecting people. And then on Monday, on the first day of the week of action, we've got the phone banking. So you can take part wherever you are. You can, this is calling up insurers. And then Wednesday, there'll be a big in-person action in London. If you sign up, then we will send you all the details of where this is happening. We'll have a Stop ECOP presence at this action. You'll see us with the red suits. And if you want to get involved, Amina can talk a bit more about that in the breakout rooms, how you can get involved in that. And then on Thursday in Manchester, we've got an in-person action from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and targeting Marsh, the insurance broker. And then Friday, we've got Manchester and Birmingham in-person actions targeting insurance. So that's still to be decided. You can see all the links to the action on that link. Next slide, please. So for the next steps, please check out the resources that we have. Please, get in contact with us as well. I think we can give you, when we send you an email, you'll see our email addresses, and you can let us know if you have any, if you want some help in doing any of those events. Also further on in the year, in May, there will be an insurance conference. It's called the BIBA conference, and we're going to be doing a protest there. It's going to be happening in Manchester. Hopefully we're going to get people all over the UK to come to this protest, and we'll have a strong Stop ECOP focus at that action. So we're still planning that, and if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear from you as well. I think Clara will be in a breakout room talking about that a bit more. I think that's the end of the slides.